The roar and boom of the fighter jets awoke me. I opened my eyes to see Lucille, Jack's wife, stitching my leg up. I told Lucille, "I didn't know you were a nurse." She replied, "I wasn't. I was a veterinary assistant. It wasn't a perfect stitch job, but what would have to do." They found the penicillin I had brought home. Lucille said without that, the infection could have killed me in a few weeks. It was already approaching dusk when I woke up. I'd been sleeping for 14 plus hours. My first real sleep since the world went to shit. Nothing came easy anymore. I had to explain to my wife that her mom's apartment was no longer there, burnt to the ground with only the concrete foundation remaining. Her car wasn't there. She was most likely stuck at work when the EMP detonated. I knew most likely we'd never see her again, even if she was still alive. Her state job was in the urban city, which was most likely complete chaos, destruction, and death now. I told Jack and Eddie about the marauders I ran across less than a half mile from our street. I terminated 2 of the bastards, but according to Dale, at the group home there were more. There were dozens upon dozens of houses burned out. I'm down to 8 packs of cigarettes. It was imperative that we remain vigilant in our neighborhood. Eddie said there had been heavy air traffic all day long. Majority of the jets looked to be Russian, he said. For every 1 American jet, he had seen close to 10 Russian jets. I decided to check the ham radio, try and gather any information we could.
This is an emergency action notification. The following message is transmitted at the request of the President of the United States. This is not a test. President Barack Obama has hereby issued nationwide martial law for all 48 continental United States effective immediately. The states of Alaska and Hawaii are not included. Attacks against this country are occurring and more attacks are very likely. These attacks are considered
military,
to be acts
police,
of terrorism
anybody.
from an unknown
7
origin.
days now.
Attacks by means of gunfire,
What are they talking
bombings,
about?
and abducting have occurred all along the East Coast and are quickly spreading to the central and Midwestern states. American citizens are in danger. It is unlikely that these attacks will cease anytime soon.
Holy shit.
These terrorists have already claimed hundreds of thousands of lives within the past 12.5 hours. For your safety, you must stay inside your home. Lock all doors and windows and seek inner refuge on the lowest floor of your home. Make sure you have essential supplies, including food and water that will last for your stay at home. Rationing may be necessary. Martial law means that citizens in the affected area are being prohibited from leaving their homes without written consent from authorities. If you are not currently in your home, you must head there right now. You are being given the next 30 minutes to leave your current location to return to your residence before law enforcement begins to take action. If you are more than 30 minutes away from your residence, you may be required to get an escort from local authorities. Those caught on the street during this martial law are putting themselves in danger and will be arrested. Stand by for this message.
I just can't believe
This is an emergency action
what this world has turned into.
An emergency action notification remains in effect. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. As of 10:54 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a portion of the Russian fighters over the Northeast were defeated by the National Guard. However, the second wave has arrived, despite an attempt by the Air Force to shoot them down. The second wave is targeting the following cities: Miami, Atlanta, Richmond, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Cleveland, Lexington, Nashville, and Dallas. The bombers are carrying nuclear weapons, which can produce fallout. If you are in or near the listed cities, set a fallout shelter now. If you cannot find one, the National Guard will lead you to one. Do not try to take on any Russian fighters. Risk your life. If you do so, the National Guard is working to take care of the situation. Only emerge from your fallout shelter if you have been given clearance from the proper authorities. To do so, remember to take a battery-powered radio with you, along with all necessary supplies. to 7:70 a.m. for more information.
With a wave of Russian fighter jets. My family, Eddie, Jack, and Lucille, all heard the emergency broadcast. Eddie questioned if we should evacuate and head to our city's FEMA camp. Jack and I both knew better. It was day 7 now. It was too late to bug out, and I sure as hell was not taking my family to a FEMA camp. I wondered if it was just an aerial invasion, or if there were going to be troops on the ground too. As bad as it was, I couldn't help but think of the 80s version of Red Dawn. We convinced Eddie he needed to stay here. We were already a small group of 7. We couldn't afford to lose anyone. 7 days in, martial law was the word. I hadn't seen any signs of National Guard, military, or police. Just marauders, thugs, and assassins. I told Jack and Eddie it'd be a good idea if each of us did an inventory of our supplies. By the sounds of things, help didn't seem like it would be showing up at our doorstep anytime soon. What was left of the National Guard and military now had more pressing needs. Jack and Eddie returned home to go through their inventory. I headed to the basement to do the same. Ammunition was priority 1. Over 10,000 rounds of 5.56. 1,400 rounds of 12 gauge. 30 plus rounds of 9mm for the Beretta I'd pulled off the Marauders on day 3. And 3 rounds for that Mosin Nagant I had scavenged as well. I moved to what food I kept for my preps. Over 150 pounds of rice, 75 pounds of pasta, 30 jars of sauce, 90 packs of ramen, 56 packages of Mountain House, 50 pounds of beans, 16 cans of soup, 42 cans of vegetables, and 22 cans of raviolis and SpaghettiOs. I had multiple boxes of cereals, 4 big boxes of oatmeal, 6 boxes of pancake mix. I kept a supply of snacks for my kids too. It could be a big morale boost at a time like this. What I never got into, regrettably, was canning meat. My wife and kids were not meat eaters, but I was. We were still eating from the pantry and cupboards in the kitchen. We hadn't touched any of my stock, but that's going to change in the next day or so. I was in good shape with water, too. I had 5 7-gallon jugs filled, 5 6-gallon jugs, and over 125 1-gallon Poland Spring jugs still left. I kept Kool-Aid mix and lemonade mix for when the taste of water became too bland. I also stocked Gatorade bottles. I had over 50 of those, 4 12-packs of Mountain Dew, and 6 2-liters of it. The water bob in my tub was about half full, probably 50 gallons left in it. I was never a 1%er in terms of wealth, but when it came to preps, I damn sure was now. I figured Jack and Eddie would soon be running out of food. Jack, Eddie, and I reconvened before I took my turn at my first night watch. With the sleep I had gotten, I was the most rested. Eddie had the 100 rounds of 12 gauge I'd given him with the Maverick 88. He was reduced to 2 pounds of pasta, 8 cans of canned goods, 3 days of vegetables from his garden. He was down to his last case of bottled water. Jack had 720 rounds exactly for his 2 handguns. He figured he'd had about 5 days of food left for he and his wife Lucille. He said he only had 3 gallons of water left before resorting to his hot water tank and tanks on the toilet. I didn't even give it a second thought. I offered him one of my 7-gallon containers. With darkness set in, it was time to hunker down for the night. That's when we heard a voice yelling, "Jack! Jack! Jack!" It was Jack's 45-year-old son. Ah, shit, I muttered out loud. Jack heard me. He knew I didn't care much for his son, Chris. Eddie didn't either. He had just recently moved out from Jack's house. What kind of person referred to their father by first name anyway? I had had a few confrontations with him in the past. He'd come rolling into the driveway at all hours of the night, blasting music, presumably drunk. Never once seen him cut the grass or shovel snow. Shit, 2 years ago, Jack had had a heart attack. Chris never stepped up. Eddie and I took turns maintaining Jack's yard. The son of the bitch had the audacity one day to tell me to stop cutting the grass because I woke him up at 4:30 in the afternoon. This was just going to be another mouth to feed. And I knew it wouldn't be long before Chris started trouble.